Gary Bold. Gary's going to convince you tonight to take up CW and become the strongest club in Auckland on CW. Lawrence is going to talk about his journey to his first 50 calls, so you hands if you're struggling getting your calls along or want some help in terms of ideas. He's got some things he wants to share. Julian's going to talk about our role as message handling, and some of it will include the transition from communicating by CAM and communicating by communicator. There's a little bit of a difference. What we'd like you to do is understand that difference as you start, so that you don't make too many mistakes that are hard to correct later down the line. Andy's going to talk about digital modes, and then we'll summarise all of the other aspects of the hobby in terms of what you can do.
I'm actually doing some choice now.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let Gordon introduce himself.
Alright, well, welcome along everybody. I'm Gordon, 01BH, with my gathered from Graham's introduction. And he's asked me to sort of conduct this evening's session. So we've got 4 members of the club that are going to give presentations on different aspects of amateur radio. And since Graham's already dealt with it, I won't spend too much time on this. So got Gary Bold. Give us a wave, Gary. Gary over there. Andy Drills, 01COP. And then he's going to do something about digital modes, is that right?
Oh, something vague in that.
Something vague like that. Lawrence, wherever you go. Lawrence is over here. He's going to give you some tips on getting your first 50 contacts. Julian's going to talk generally about civil defence or communications or message handling or something. And finally, there's me. So, the video that's playing on the screen was produced late last year by the Radio Society of Great Britain. It's a bit of promotion for amateur radio.
We live in an age of amazing technology. But for some people, just being a consumer of off-the-shelf gadgets isn't enough. If you're bored with this and looking for something more exciting, why not take a trip around the world at the speed of light?
Delta Kilo 8 Lima Golf, this is Mike X-Ray 0 Sierra Sierra Whiskey. Okay, thank you Frank for coming back to my QRZ call. My name is Adam, as in Alpha Delta Alpha Mike, Alpha Delta Alpha Mike, Adam is my name.
We all love to communicate. Amateur radio takes you beyond being a mere gadget user. It challenges you by putting you in charge of the technology.
The bit that always interested me in the amateur radio was always the construction. One of the big things I've been interested in constructing is using the Raspberry Pi in amateur radio, because it's a small single board computer. It has a lot of potential, lots of opportunities.
So we're building a radio receiver.
Okay.
And I'm just on the part with the modulator.
This is a hobby with hundreds of different ways to have techie fun. Using this simple hand radio transceiver and a good antenna, you can talk to other amateurs around the world, and you can do it from almost anywhere.
I'm at a portable station.
The radio signals you transmit travel around the world at the speed of light. No internet connection or mobile phone signals are needed. Just your own skills as a radio hand.
I'm 11 years old and I'm about to do the foundation license here in England. Over.
I got into amateur radio really to get a greater understanding of technology. I spend so much time on my phone, on laptops, and really have no idea how any of it works. It was a really welcoming experience for me, a really great community, and really easy to actually do. In disaster situations, when normal communications are out of action, amateur radio still gets the message through. which is why many hams belong to organisations that train their members to provide emergency radio links when needed.
I like the practicality of being able to send a message and know how to get something out to someone under your own steam, so kind of making it yourself, and I'm very interested in being able to do the electronics thing, to build things, being able to be self-reliant in communication. I think that's really interesting.
It's great fun talking to other hams in unusual and sometimes exotic places around the world and beyond. The International Space Station carries ham radio gear on board, and there's always licensed amateurs among the crew to use it, such as Commander Doug Wheelock.
I've really enjoyed using the ham radio and talking to ham radio operators all over the world.
Radio amateurs around the world also build and launch their own satellites, and hams anywhere can use them for space communication experiments, and of course to chat to each other.
Golf Flight 3 Echo. Golf Flight 3 Echo, Golf Bravo 1 Yankee, Oscar Tango America, and afternoon, quite nice. We're using SO50, which is an FM transponder satellite, which was going over from west to north, around 7 degrees elevation.
When computers and radios come together, there's a whole bunch of new opportunities for hams to connect by radio, sending text, transmitting pictures or real-time video, even displaying data from an amateur radio satellite orbiting the Earth.
Mike 6 November Yankee Kilo.
CQ, GB1 Utah.
I got started in amateur radio because I'm a girl guide leader and I wanted to take up a hobby that I could do with my brownies. The interesting aspect of amateur radio is that you do learn how it works, and you get to communicate with loads of different people, find out about different areas of the world. You learn a bit more about the science and how it works, and you have a much more profound understanding of a technology that is going on all around you.
In amateur radio, sport and radio fit together well too.
Take another bearing in a minute because I don't trust that.
These guys are trying to locate hidden radio transmitters, racing against each other and the clock. Amateur radio is a fantastic hobby for anybody who loves technology. I've only really been involved in the hobby for a really short amount of time, and I've been speaking to people all across the world. It's a really, really inviting community. One minute you're speaking to somebody about amateur radio and it leads on to so many other discussions about other different technologies you may not have even thought of. So if you do get a chance, come and join us.
I'm going to pick on Andy to the one COP to give you a bit of a talk about digital.
What I was just going to run by you is how I got involved in ham radio and where it's taken me since. First became interested in radio when I was about 14. I was given a clapped-down old shortwave broadcast receiver with no speaker in it because the mice had eaten away the speaker code. And I actually replaced it with a new speaker, and I thought I was God's gift for technology, which was brilliant. But one of the things it did was allow me to tune the shortwave bands, and I soon became fascinated by what I could hear there. Not just the broadcast stations, but the things in between. Auckland radio, talking to ships, Auckland aircraft talking to Auckland across the Tasman. And also obviously the ham band. So it was just a matter of listening around, and I got fixated with the shortwave listening. And obviously that led me into more and more advanced bits and pieces, putting up aerials and that kind of thing. And eventually I acquired a ham license and a ZC1 military World War II 2-watt transceiver back in 1972. And shortly after that, there was a guy at work who was a ham, and he was writing to teleprinters. And he palmed off on me an old 1930s Creed mechanical teleprinter. So at that point, a whole new world opened up. I've been listening around shortwave bands and listening to all these blurts and sounds and wobbly noises. I have no idea what they were. I thought it was interference. Most of the band seemed to be full of this, these strange, weird noises which meant nothing to me, interspersed with the odd bit of speech. But the bit of coaching from this chap at work, I managed to get this teleprinter connected up to the radio and started printing stuff off. Probably mid-70s, things were really up and down. There was no satellites, and it was amazing what you could actually tune into. I remember receiving bank transactions from French Polynesia into Australia in the clear, unencrypted, printing out people's bank account numbers and all the rest of it. All kinds of things. The Interpol was on there on a regular basis from Switzerland. All these red warnings about wanted criminals around the world. It was all broadcast in the clear, and I was able to pick it up on this old Cree teleprinter rattling along at 50 boards, which was pretty fast. Hardly keep up with it on the keyboard. And eventually, next thing was connecting the teleprinter to my Hammond transceiver, by which time I'd acquired an old Yaesu FD101 valve, mainly valve finals HF transceiver. And so we got that going, and I was then able to actually indulge in two-way contact on this mechanical printing. Anyway, time goes on, technology changes, and I followed up Creed with a 1954 version as opposed to the 1938 version. That would work up to 75 boards, so I was really in the big time that I could get the US military on their 75 board transmission. Then, big breakthrough in the 1980s, I got a Commodore 64 computer. And that was a complete game changer because we no longer had to have the mechanical printer and keeping the family awake in the middle of the night with this roar of mechanics. And basically, as time goes on, I became more and more technically aware of how digital signals were transmitted, the way they behave, what was out there. And I've never lost that interest in identifying the odd things which you hear on the hambands. Those that know me will know that I don't do small talk well, so I'm not one of those people that can just sit behind a microphone and chat away about nothing in particular and feel fulfilled by it. And I know I've had some feedback from some of you younger guys who feel the same way. What do we talk about? When you've talked about the weather and your backache and what antenna you've got, you sort of run out of things to say. So my interest has always been more in listening than talking. Although talking is good, but the listening, the decoding, the identifying all these weird signals that are popping up around the bands, whether on the ham bands or on the bands in between the military or the scientific or even just the natural squeaks of birds. I find it fascinating. So my interest has been in, I won't say digital mode, but anything that's not really speech. I like communicating the two-way digital stuff, using some of the newer modes which will operate well below the level at which you can actually communicate by voice. I'm sure Gary will say that CW is even better, but you can actually decode and communicate with signals which you cannot hear at all by ear. Using some of these more modern modes. JT25 is a mode which I've been using the last couple of years, and I've never, on any occasion, turned on my radio and not been able to have a contact on HF on one band run or JT65. The band seems dead to the ear, but there are signals down there which are copyable with some of these modes. So, working 30 watts maximum, sometimes down to say 5 watts. This year I've worked 40 countries so far since January. Set myself a challenge to see how many different countries I could work on JT65 this year. So since January, I managed to get 40 countries without really putting every day into it. There's a lot of signals out there. It's easy to use, and as time has gone on, the complexity has probably got less in terms of what it takes to get on the air. A lot of the systems now are software based, whereas in the old days with mechanical printers you had to have tune filters and you had to have all sorts of custom built hardware to actually get the thing to work. These days, if you've got a plug for your microphone, plug your microphone into your computer, plug your audio output from your transmitter into your computer, work out a means of keying it on and off, and you're away. You just download the software and it will run. It's very, very easy to set up. I won't say it's without problems. You will find initially that it drives you nuts, but once you've got it sussed out and you know all about your sound cards and all the other bits and pieces, it's very, very simple to get on the air in various ways. Particularly with these new SDR receivers, you've got displays, you can see the signals in real time as well as hear them. And I just find it fascinating. So I'll just end up with basically to say there's more to ham radio than just talking. And if anybody's got any questions about how to get going on digital modes or what you can do or anything at all, I'm only too happy to talk about it. If necessary, I'm happy to show you and demonstrate. Obviously not tonight, but if anybody's interested, I'm really keen to actually share what I think is a really fascinating aspect of the hobby. So that's my take on digital and other sorts of modes. So if there's any questions, feel free, or if anything comes up later on in the session, you want to get back to me, feel free. This session is open for you guys, so I'm just giving you a taste of how I feel about it, and I welcome it. There's a vast array of modes. Some of you may have heard Murray Green talking a little while ago about FSQ, which is a chat mode. There is BPSK, which is another digital mode. There's the old traditional what we call auto code or ITA code that we used to use. It's been in use since before the Second World War. Still there, and that's available. All very simple to use. Some modes operate better than others in different circumstances. So it's a matter of picking the sort of mode that you want to use for the situation you're in. Potential for use on AREC, on the VHF, UHF, as well as HF. And the other thing is, apart from the amateur modes, you've got all the other modes which are out there with all sorts of interesting stuff on there. You might not actually be able to read the content of the messages, they're probably encrypted, but it's quite fascinating to be able to pick up the French Navy and Tahiti and work out who they're communicating with and all the rest of it. So, all sorts of good stuff out there for those who've got the interest. RTTY is, I say, what I was using in the mechanical days. It's a really simple code. This is susceptible to noise, but if you've got a good signal, it's perfectly usable, and it's very simple to use. Plenty of software out there to do it. It's lots of contests, and people use it all around the world.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, Andy. We'll have Mr. Morseman himself, Gary, is at 1 a.m. Up next, Gary.
Thank you, Gordon. I brought an artifact.
Indeed, and Gary is self-amplified, he doesn't need any further.
That's correct. Who wanted me to bring a handout to replicate? Speak up, because I brought a handout. There it is, my good man. In full living colour. Prepared by the finest software Microsoft can sell. Alright, you'll note that Morse code is the only mode that was not mentioned on this introductory video, and therefore has a very important place in amateur radio. So I won't talk for nearly as long as anybody else. But I just wanted to show you one or two. Oh, but I better, how many of you are not radio fans? Congratulations. I'm talking to you, sir. Oh, well, that's all right. But he doesn't have to sit and examine Morse at 12 words a minute, as I did, and as Alan, you probably did. And then later on, had to sit and examine 50 words a minute, you know, high frequency tones. No mistakes. Those were the days we had here on our cases. It's you guys. Alright, so without more ado, since I am the only talker about the most ancient and venerable mode here, being an ancient and venerable gentleman, I thought I would just illustrate with one artifact. This is a Morse code here. It's a microprocessor controlled one with one CMOS chip inside and some batteries. It doesn't go by smoke, it needs some batteries. And one Kia produced the paddles produced by the Brown brothers, the most famous manufacturers of Morse paddles in the 1970s when I bought this, because I'm very, very old. They're out of business, of course, now. But how many of you don't know about Morse paddles? You all know about Morse paddles. Okay, well, you normally see Morse key by counting your wrist up and down, and that gives you RSI. But a paddle, which was in the sideways movement, was introduced to stop people getting RSI. You send dips and dars by pressing the appropriate paddle. That one sends a string of dips a bit fast. We'll slow it down again. Microprocessors are good, they do what they're told. So there's a string of dips. There's a string of dars. No, it's not quite 20 words a minute. And if I press both paddles simultaneously, what do I get? What does it start with? The paddle I press first. So I can see the C by going. Or I can see the full stop by pressing the other one. Oh, that wasn't a full stop, that was something else. And this one has got the capability of memorizing messages as well. So I'm not going to talk about that. Or virtually all of the hams that you will hear on the high frequency bands, that's above 40 meters these days, will be using one of these. And quite often, if they're from the European countries, they'll be going so fast that you will not be able to read them. Many Russians consider that 40 words a minute is a good, acceptable speed for conducting a Morse conversation. And there's a small group of Americans called the 5-Star Club. You've heard of those? The 5-Star Club. To qualify for the 5-Star Club, you have to hold a conversation in Morse for 5 minutes with a member of the club at 75 words a minute or above. Now, 75 words a minute, that just sounds like rubbish. These are unusual people. They have minds which can listen to that stuff. It's interesting talking to them. I've talked to quite a few of them when I was over in America. And I asked one, how long did it take you to learn to do that? And he said, took me about a couple of months. I was quite a slow learner. Johnny learned quicker than that. The official world record in receiving amongst hams is 139 words a minute. And that's so fast that you even have trouble sending on a keyboard, Morse keyboard. Morse keyboards, of course, go even faster. Well, look, that's about all I'm going to say, except any questions now, because there's a lot of us to get through, so I'll shut up and sit down soon. Questions?
Do you want to just mention your learning program?
Oh, my Morse learning program? Yeah. On this handouty thing, I have written a Morse tutoring program, a Morse teaching program, which starts you from... These people all know Morse, or they're not interested.
I want the new ones. I want you to entice the new ones into learning CW.
Google on Gary ZL1AN, and you will find my Morse reading program. Actually, if you have a cell phone, and who hasn't got a cell phone these days, if you email me, I have just discovered this, I will send you in the Play Store, there is one Morse reading program. You tune in Morse on your radio, you've got it, hold up, and it reads Morse through the microphone. There's an even better one written by an Englishman, G08YN, of my acquaintance, which I've actually got on this phone, but I won't demonstrate it now, it'll take too long, there's a lot to get through. Email me. I've got a handout here, somewhere, where did I put it? You will get a handout. You will get that handout. Cherish it. My email address is on there. Need any more information, Google on Morseman or email me. Thank you. I'll sit down.